And I
Okay, you now, as I mentioned yesterday, this year we changed our format. Today, first I answer questions and then meditate, so that you can meditate as long as you can. As long as you have time, you can keep on meditating. But at 11, I have to stop to go for lunch. Okay. Chaturi?
Yes, Bhante, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm connected, and I have the chat open, and so people that have questions can just put it on the chat and post it to everyone so I can read it.
Yeah. It seems that there are 3 questions
Okay.
in chat.
Could people please post the questions to everyone on the chat, because otherwise I cannot read them. If you post them to Bhante directly, I cannot see them because I'm not the host at present, because I'm not in the country. So if people can just repost their questions but send to everyone so I can read them. Because right now I don't see them. In the chat. Do you see okay.
There's one question.
Yeah, it's I see a question. It has to do with the recording. From yesterday, yes, we were not able to go live yesterday. It will be uploaded shortly, as soon as we can do that. Yeah. So right now, I don't see any Dhamma questions unless somebody's posted one directly to Bhante. I don't see one. So maybe I can ask a question to start the discussion. Bhante, okay, I see a question right now. Is it okay to focus on tension in the body before going to the breath? This is a long process and there's lots of tension. So if one is feeling tense, is it okay to start focusing on this and then after that going to the breath?
I think so. If the tension is stronger, the feeling is stronger, then you cannot go to breath. And therefore, it is better to focus the mind on the tension and let it settle down, and then you feel comfortable and you feel the breath easily, and then you go to the breath. Otherwise, while the physical tension is there, noticing very strongly, you cannot go to breath. I think that's a good idea. First, watch your tension. Sometimes you may feel like a needle pricking, sometimes some nervous tension. So pay attention to it and let it settle, and then go to the breath. Yes.
Thank you, Bhante. Yes,
Yeah.
the person was asking about releasing the tension. Yes. Let's see if I can find another question.
You
Yes.
said you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering, just to put things a little bit in a context, if you can tell us a little bit about the history of the Anapanasati, how this came about that the Buddha gave this teaching.
I think that also is a good question. Buddha gave instructions to many monks on meditation on impurities of the body, 32 parts of the body. And these monks, after giving these instructions, Buddha also went for 2 weeks personal retreat. During his absence, those monks who were practicing the loathsomeness or unattractiveness of the body, some of them felt so disgusted with the body that they felt like a young woman who likes to be beautiful, like a dead snake or some dead body around her neck hanging. That kind of feeling these monks had. Then one of them went to a monk. He was a novice. His name was Miguel Landaka, and told him, Reverend, do me a favor. I don't like to live in this body. This is so ugly, dirty, loathsome. Therefore, you take my robes, arms ball, and take this razor and cut my throat. This novice agreed. He cut his throat. And then later on he might have felt that this was a good business. He can sell the robe, arms ball and so forth and make money. And he went from kuti to kuti asking other monks whether they also felt the same way as the previous monk felt. They said yes. So he went on cutting their throats and killing them. And some monks committed suicide. So there were homicide, suicide. Some killed themselves and some were killed by this novice. So when Buddha returned from his 2 weeks retreat, he found many monks missing. So he asked Venerable Ananda what happened to them. Then he reported what happened to these monks. This story is found in Samyutta Nikaya as well as Vinaya Pitaka Mahavagga and what you call Parajika Pali. And then after this incident, Buddha realized that these monks have not understood the real practice of mindfulness of unattractiveness of the body, because they misunderstood it. Buddha meant it in a practicing mindfulness of impurities of the body, one really will have a real understanding of the body. I will talk about it later on in other time, in other on other day. But this is the background. And then Buddha called monks. When they came, Buddha gave this instruction to them on mindfulness of breathing. That is one story. And the other story is that just before the end of 3 months rainy season, on the full moon day, Buddha found monks who were sitting and meditating. And some were giving instructions to senior monks, giving instruction to 10 monks, 20 monks, 30 monks, 40 monks. And then they gave instructions on 37 factors of enlightenment and 4 foundations, 4 Brahma Viharas and mindfulness of breathing. And Buddha said, you are doing quite well. I will be back in 1 month. When he returned after 1 month, next full moon day, he found these monks were meditating very, very seriously, very quiet. Among them there were arahants, anagamis, one-seat returners, never returners, and the stream enterers. So Buddha was very pleased. And then he gave instructions to them on the mindfulness of breathing. And he said, bhikkhus, if you practice mindfulness of breathing, you practice 4 foundations of mindfulness, 7 factors of enlightenment, Noble Eightfold Path, and you get Vijja Vimutti, liberation from samsaric suffering. So he gave this instruction. And he said, this meditation is all complete, perfect practice. All the Buddhas, Vipassi, Sikhi, Vesabu, Kakusada, Konagama, Kassava, Gota, all the 7 Buddhas in the past, practice mindfulness of breathing and attain enlightenment. And all Arahants practice, most of the Arahants practice mindfulness of breathing and attain full enlightenment. Now this is the background, as I mentioned, a little bit of it yesterday, the background of this meditation practice. Okay?
Great, thank you, Bhante. The next question is, can you please explain what does experience the whole body mean in the Anapanasati Sutta? Is the
Yes.
sutta, does it mean focus on the breath or does it mean focus on the body?
Now, according to the discourse, it is very specifically mentioned the breath body. That means the breath, entire breath, is taken as a body. For instance, that's what I said, I will explain this in detail in my next talk. But since you asked the question, let me give some points of whole body, breath body. And I mentioned that there are 4 tetrads. First tetrad is the mindfulness of the body. Second tetrad, mindfulness of feelings. Third tetrad, mindfulness of the mind. Fourth tetrad is mindfulness of Dhamma, mind objects. So in the first tetrad, one focus mind only on the breath. How breath becomes a body? It has a beginning, middle, and end. And it's a body of air, sort of complete air element is used as a body. So that is how it is explained in various commentaries, sub-commentaries, and so forth. And therefore, without any hesitation, we must use this breath as a one whole body, breath body. Because it is, and Buddha said, Anapanasati Kayanyatarang bhikkhave Anapanasati vadami. Monks, mindfulness of the breath is one of the bodies. Among bodies, mindfulness of breathing is one body. That means breath, body. Okay, in that, what do we need to make a body? It needs elements. Earth element, water element, fire elements, air elements. In the breath you can find all of them. When you feel the breath touching your nostrils, somewhere it touches either nostrils, upper lips, or inside the nose. That touch is because of the presence of earth element. And the breath also has the moisture. When we breathe in and out, you can see sometimes breath is dry, sometimes breath is wet, depending on outside environment. When outside humidity is high, we feel that humidity in the breath. When the humidity is low, if the air is dry, when we breathe in, we feel the dryness of the air. And when we breathe in and out, we feel the heat element in the air. And then that belongs to heat element. Then we breathe air. We feel the movement, oscillation, the function of air is the movement. We feel the movement of air. So all the four elements are there. Earth element, water element, fire elements, and air elements. And therefore, for all practical purpose, although they are very, very subtle, all the elements are there, therefore it is called breath body. Okay?
Okay. The next question is, when I am focusing on the breath, I get a great sense of calm. And then I have a feeling as if my body is in a scene of nature that's usually along a river or in a forest. Is it always, and it's always the same nature scene that the person is experiencing from meditation to meditation. And they would like to know if that's a thought that they should let go of, or is it something that they should try and go deeper into this experience?
Okay. When you are focusing on the breath, you
Yes.
get a greater sense of calm, and then a sense that your body is a scene of nature,
Yes.
usually along a river or in forest. Is always the same nature,
From meditation to
sense
meditation.
from meditation to meditation, is that a thought that I need to let go of, or something else that I hold and sense deeper into while meditating. All these things all these things can be distractions. The scene along a river and so forth are distractions. Your imagination. You have to remember we have seen trillions of things in our life, heard so many things in our life, and smelled, tasted, and touched. So all of them are in our memory bank. When we try to meditate, many of them come to the front and we remember them, and they can become a distraction. So we have to let them go and stay on the subject of meditation. In this case, the subject is the breath. We stay with that. When I have not explained all these things in details, it begins with the gross feeling of breath, gross feeling. As you keep breathing and breathing and breathing and breathing, focusing your mind only on the breath, gradually that gross state of breath becomes subtle, and that becomes even more subtler and subtler and subtler. That is why last stage is called Passambayankaya Sankarang Asasisami Sikati. Passambayankara Sankaram Pasisam. That means experience the tranquility. So it is translated tranquilizing the breath I breathe in, tranquilizing the breath I breathe out. You are not tranquilizing it deliberately, it naturally happens. For example, when you hit the gong or bell, first you hear very loud sound. And if you keep listening very mindfully, that sound slowly becomes softer and softer and softer, and finally you may not even hear. Similarly, the breath at the beginning is very gross, coarse, and as you pay attention to it, it naturally becomes softer and softer and softer, and then you experience subtleness of the breath, subtlety of the breath. That's called tranquility. So until such time, you should not let the mind wander here and there. You have to bring it back again and again and again to the subject, that is your breathing. So all other additional things are distractions. So you should not pay attention to them. You have to let go of all of them and keep coming back to the breath. You remember yesterday in my talk I mentioned it is just like training a wild calf. The mind is so used for traveling. It is fickle. It is just like a fish out of water. When you put a fish out of water, the fish is, struggling to breathe and to live. That kind of feeling, that is the sort of state of mind we have. Always trying to find something or other to hang on to. Mind doesn't like to stay on one object. So we are trying to train the mind to stay on one object. In this case, the breath. Okay?
Yes, Bhante, next question. I am aware of the in-breath, but not of the out-breath.
Right. Okay. Not only that, some people are aware of the beginning of the breath, some people are aware of the middle of the breath, some people are aware of the end of the breath, and some people are aware of the beginning but not the end. Some people are aware of the middle but not the beginning or the end. This is also very natural way, and that is why when you focus the mind, you can see the entire breath, and that's what called entire breath body. So sometimes out breath is more clear, sometimes in breath is clear. So we have to pay attention to feel both inhaling as well as exhaling to make it complete awareness of the entire breathing process. Because eventually there is a moment that both inhaling and exhaling connect, and then you cannot make the distinction between inhaling and exhaling when they connect. So try to be aware of both inhaling and exhaling, and keep even. Yesterday I mentioned that we have to balance the state of mind, balance the feeling of inhaling and exhaling. As I also mentioned, this is not very simple and easy subject, but this is a very profound subject, and yet as we keep practicing, we become perfect in that practice. Then all this distraction will disappear. Of course, it doesn't happen very quickly. If it happens very quickly, you are assured that you are in sleep. Okay?
Okay, the next question is, most teachers speak of 8 jhanas, but the sutta here, in this sutta, there are 4 jhanas and 4 ayatanas, not 8 jhanas. What did the Buddha mean? Why does he speak of jhana for the 4 and then ayatana for the other 4? Teachers today tend to call everything jhana, but the Buddha didn't. So this must be meaningful, I suppose.
8 jhanas is generally people talk about 8 jhanas, but 4 of them are called Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara, and other 4 are called Santa Vimokha. Santa Vimokha. 4 material jhanas are called jhanas, and other immaterial attainments are not called jhanas. They are called Santa Vimokha. That means peaceful liberation. They are called peaceful liberation because at that level there are no tug of war between hindrances and jhanic factors. Hindrances are all disappeared, gone, and nanata kaya, nanata sanya, amanisikara, patika sanya, nang attangama. That is, there is no friction. Adivachana sampassa, patika sampassa. Contact, 2 types of contact are no longer there. Mental contact, physical contact are no longer there. And therefore that state is extremely peaceful. Those 4 states are not nibbanic attainment, but most peaceful in mundane attainments, those are the most peaceful attainments. Therefore, they are called not jhanas, but called ayatanas. Akasanancha ayatana, vinyanancha ayatana, akincanya ayatana, nevasanyana sanyayatana. Ayatana means the state where the mind settles down. Mind settles in its pure state of peace, and that is why they are not called jhanas. Of course, someone very easily say 8 jhanas. Buddha would not call 8 jhanas. Buddha would call 8 attainments. Atta vimukha, all attainments. So to make it distinguish from one from the other, Buddha break it down to jhana, what you call Dita Dhamma Sukha Vihara, living in happiness in this life, and Satta Vimokha, peaceful liberation. Peaceful liberation combined with Santa Vimokha, this life happiness, what you call Sukha Vihara, both of them combined together and called 8 jhanas. Buddha did not call them 8 jhanas. Later teachers and so forth called 8 jhanas. Okay?
Yes. The next question is some clarifications about what you talked about yesterday. You talked about cleanliness, like, for example, clean clothes and clean body. And you also talked about the balance of the faculty. Could you
Yeah.
please explain what you mean by this balance of faculty?
I think it is too early to answer that question because I have not explained the factors of what you call jhanic factors. When I explain bojjhangas, factors of enlightenment, 7 factors of enlightenment. When we explain the 7 factors of enlightenment, I will explain how to balance the spiritual faculties like Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. These spiritual faculties can be balanced when we attain, when we gain bojjhanga, the factors of enlightenment. Therefore, I think I can answer that question later on in my future talk, but today it is too premature to answer those questions because you may get confused if I answer those questions now. And I have to spend longer time to explain them. Okay?
Okay. So should we move to the next question then, Bhante?
Yes.
There's still time? Okay. The next question is about Vipassana practice, and it's got 2 parts. The first part is if we try to stop the mind at one moment, then we end up in frustration because the mind cannot be held fast. And this is something that you had mentioned in your book, Mindfulness in Plain English. Does this mean that in Vipassana meditation, sometimes it's appropriate to let the mind ruminate as long as we are aware of it until thoughts have settled? So, is it okay to let the mind churn on thoughts until the thoughts settle if we cannot control the mind?
Okay. If we try to observe the mind at one point,
Yeah, if the mind cannot stop, if we cannot stop it from thinking or chewing on some thoughts, then we can be frustrated. But the question is it okay to let the mind go on ruminating or chewing on some thoughts as long as we are aware of those thoughts and then the thoughts will stop?
You cannot stop the mind, but you can become aware of what is happening in the mind. And things are happening, even the mind itself is changing so fast that the Buddha said that he even could not give an example or simile to illustrate the speed of mind changing. And therefore, if you try to stop it deliberately, you will really be ended up in frustration naturally. So, in Vipassana meditation, what we see impermanence very definitely. Most prominent of everything is impermanence. In Vipassana meditation, seeing impermanence, that means impermanence means three things: rising, peaking, and passing away. Rising and then coming to peak and then pass away. When they are even these three called mind moments, chitta khana, even these three combined together, you cannot see very clearly, let alone one. When all the three together, one may think it is rather gross, therefore one should be able to notice it. But when we break it down to three, how can you notice it? Because it is so quick. However, in Vipassana meditation, mind becomes so sharp, so clear, free from hindrances, free from disturbances, and that time mind can become aware of these mind moments. So that is possible. That's what we experience in mindfulness. Then
Yes, the next part of the question is if we watch the mind ruminating after we realize that this is coming from delusion, hatred, or greed, is that called unstructured meditation? And if we recognize the delusion, hatred, or greed and make a mindful effort to let it go, this is called insight meditation. Is that correct understanding?
right in the insight meditation, when all the activities cease in the mind, activities, they don't cease, but they are going on, but the mind remains so peaceful. You cannot see ripples, waves in the mental states or physical states, and mind remains perfectly peaceful. In order to bring the mind to that level, one has to get rid of all defilements, greed, hatred, delusion, and so forth, jealousy, fear, tension, anxiety, worry, and so forth. All these things must vanish from the mind. And then the mind remains perfectly peaceful, even within even the changes are taking place within the mind itself, since it does not have any object to hold on to, you will not find any ripples, ups and downs, dip and what you call bumps. No dips and bumps, no ups and downs. It remains very calm, relaxed and peaceful. That's all one experiences when one gets to that state. In order to get that state, definitely our greed, hatred, delusion and so forth must be, even if it temporarily subsided, we may have certain degree of peace, but when one attains enlightenment, even attain the stream entry, that person can get into called phala samapatti, experiencing the fruition of stream entry in a peaceful state. It doesn't last too long, but since whatever the person has eradicated will never return. When you attain the stream entry, you eradicate certain fetters, which are defilements. Once they are out of the mind, they will never come back to the mind, and that state is called the attainment of phala samapatti, attainment of the fruition state. One can stay in that state. And of course, if you go to higher and higher levels, then that state you can prolong, and you can stay in that state. So, this is called insight, deep, mindful, peaceful, meditative state. Yes.
There is a third component to this question, Bhante. Just to clarify things, it seems like in insight meditation, this rumination is inevitable to some degree, so that we don't suppress our thoughts in our subconscious. Is this true?
Yes.
That you always have to have some of this thinking. Once we have seen and recognized this rumination and identified it as either delusion, hatred, and or greed, then we can work on letting it go. Is
Right.
that
Right.
okay? The next question is, Bhante, also please clarify what it means to experience the whole body when breathing in and out, and breathing in and out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. What are these bodily formations?
Kaya sankhara, bodily formations, inhaling and exhaling is called kaya sankhara. Bodily formation is kaya sankhara. Sankhara, as I mentioned earlier, is the conditions or conditioners. What is the conditioner? The breath itself is a conditioner. And that breath becomes tranquil, calm, relaxed and peaceful. That is called tranquilizing the bodily formations. Bodily formations is, the word used is pasamba and kaya sankhara. Bodily formation is kaya sankhara. Sankhara means conditioners. I mentioned breath is a body conditioner. I mentioned yesterday how body conditions the breath by bringing oxygen into our lungs and recharging oxygen depleted red blood cells. And that's how it conditions the body. And this conditioning itself becomes, this is a wonderful practice. This meditation of breathing mindfulness of breathing, not tranquilizing only the body, it tranquilizes even not only the mind but even the body. It tranquilizes the mind as well as the body. I mentioned it at the very beginning. When we practice mindfulness of breathing, it settles and tranquilizes the mind as well as the body. That means making both bodies. So, physical tranquilizing by ourselves through the practice of mindfulness of breathing is the most effective way of living a very peaceful life, reducing sickness, various type of emotional sicknesses can be reduced and eventually eliminate from our mind and body. When we train the mind trains the body. We start with training the body with breathing, and then it trains the mind, and vice versa. We train the body to train the mind, and then the mind trains the body to remain calm and peaceful. So, not only mental sickness, but even physical sickness can be minimized as we are practicing, and eventually both can be eliminated from our mind. Sometimes even enlightened persons had physical ailments, but their minds were not sick. Minds were not sick because they have gotten rid of their all defilements, and they remain very peaceful all the time. I think, friends, as I mentioned, we spend a little longer time in answering questions. So we have a few minutes to practice meditation. You may stay in the same positions and try to meditate for the next few minutes, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. But even though we limit it to a few minutes, you can continue your practice of meditation even after we ring the bell. Now, let us go to this regular, what do you call, Metta recital, this one. Okay. Okay. What happened? Go to this one, right there. Okay. You close this window. Chat box. Right. Okay. Okay, let us begin with our Metta recital. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds, whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long or large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth. May all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless living friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. So with this metta thought and the background, let us keep practicing. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish. May I join always with the wise until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent. Now, friends, let me continue our metta wish as we do. While I am doing it, and even if I finish here, you may continue your practice as long as you can. I have to end this because of our lunch time. May all beings in hospitals suffering from various diseases taken care of by nurses, doctors and hospital staffs, may they recover very soon and return to their normal life and continue their Dhamma practice and liberate from samsaric suffering. May all the doctors, nurses and hospital staffs who are taking care of these patients with tremendous dedication, risking their own lives, sacrificing their comfort, out of compassion they help people. May they continue their wonderful service and practice Dhamma through their practice, through their helping people. You practice Dhamma, compassion. May you all continue that and liberate yourself from samsaric suffering. May those who have lost their loved ones and grieving, may they be free from grief and continue their Dhamma practice, meditation practice, and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. And all those who support these various benevolent projects in the world, may they continue their wonderful service, their generosity and compassion, and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. May all those leaders in the world who are in a position to make decisions, may they be wise, may they be compassionate to continue their wonderful service, and they too, by doing so, attain liberation from samsaric suffering. Those who are in various places, war zones, victims of wars, victims of various type of discriminations, may they all find peace and happiness, liberate themselves from such dire conditions, and practice Dhamma and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. May everybody be well, happy and peaceful, and liberate from samsaric suffering. Thank you for participating and encouraging us to continue these talks. As long as I can, I will do it, and you all are my helpers, supporters, and all of you be well, happy and peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Adi
to
Sati.
Bhante Gunaratna
Bhante.
and the Bhavana community.
Thank
May
you.
you be well and peaceful at the community, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Teruvan Saranai.
Sadhu, Bhante.
Okay, we end it.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Good
Bhante.
health.
Thank you, all of you.
Long
Thank you,
life.
Bhante.